members of cabinet, ministers, member of the diplomatic corps, members of the business community, invited guests, and members of the media, I'd like to welcome you this morning to Icon's Roadshow and Exhibition, the first ever such show in our part of the world. We'll find out what that took to bring it here in a little while. But I know that when you're summoned at such an early hour, like 9 o'clock, it's usually the crack of dawn for most people sitting here, I know. And then when they bring you to the national park, which is the scene of many important pronouncements and events, and then when you throw it into the Christmas month of December with the expectation it happens at that particular time, you're going to expect some exciting news this morning. So I don't think you'll be let down in any way. The buzzwords these days are clean and green and energy. We talk about our clean and green city of Georgetown, and you have to admit they're doing a marvelous job. Water is actually flowing through the drains and gutters, and you even frown when you see a bottle on the road these days, and you want to pick it up and get rid of somebody with it. So the clean and green, and everything's happening in the right way. And now when we put energy to that, and we do have the CEO of the Guyana Energy Agency, who really is most knowledgeable in these events, and should have been up here, but he says he wants to sit in the audience. But it's nice to have you all here and to welcome you. What I'd like to do is to just move into the speakers, and we start with the goodly gentleman away to the right. He comes deputizing for his minister, Minister Raphael Trotman, gentleman who left his important board meeting to come here. He's no stranger to this kind of forum because he is the Deputy Commissioner of the Guyana Geology and Mines Mission. They're very much in the news today. You know, lots of ounces of gold. I wouldn't deal with any other thing else but the ounces of gold that is all over the papers. And as you'll hear in due course, the mining sector is a particular sector that can benefit with the introduction of liquefied natural gas, LNG. If you put all the good words that you hear about clean and green energy, and you make something that's convenient, easier to get to you, and cheaper, you have a product that you need to get in your Christmas stocking this year. Hands together to welcome Mr. Neil Dennison.
Thank you, Chairperson. I hope I wouldn't disappoint, because all the things that you're supposing I'm going to talk about, I certainly won't be saying anything about that. But Honorable Minister of the Government, Honorable Members of Parliament, I don't see others other than ministers here, members of the Diplomatic Corps, Mr. Eric Schubert, the CEO of Icon LNG, representatives of heads of agencies and civil society, members of the media, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My Minister Trotman sends his regrets and his regards, and I'm required to do my best on his behalf. I'm relieved actually that there are other ministers here who will be speaking, so that if I fall short, the support would come from them. I cannot immediately put into context what this launch means for Guyana because it's not been tested yet. I know, however, that the concept is not a new one. And the concept of using gas for heavy machinery, such as generating plants, is something that I know that I personally have toyed about when we think of our challenges in the interior, in particular the interior. The challenge has always been about convenience. Liquefaction of gas and the regasification of it are significant processes. And I understand that the concept on display today will substantially cause a rethink by those who care to, that since it boasts that it's convenient, that this issue of regasification is going to be significantly addressed. I haven't started to do any of the math, but I'm sure that you've done it already on all the gains and so on. But The adoption of this option means for an industrial operation that you can move your operations closer to the raw materials for one, and I understand that that's an economic advantage, because now if you have to transport, you'll be transporting finished product, which has a higher value. And I immediately started to think about what this could have meant for an operation like OMI, where I think, if I recall, they had something like about 12 Wartzilas, 10 running at any time, and essentially every day they had to truck 3 tankers of fuel into that operation. And of course, if you consider the attendant risk of accidents on the road, even though the road was well kept, and the time value on those things, something like this concept here, I'm sure would have made a huge impact on that operation. If only too, for the fact that the efficiency of the energy value is something that would have had to be taken into consideration, gas versus heavy fuels. I think the environment, as was mentioned, is a particularly good area that this concept can do wonders for, especially in the interior again, even though it's going to be a small footprint, and we have to worry that, and we shouldn't be worried that the effects of the exhaust would be a problem in our dear Guyana. Any little step that we can do to offset those kinds of issues is good for us, is good for the country, and is good for our image. I understand too that because I'm not an energy expert, and I certainly don't know anything about machinery, but I understand too that one of the issues that heavy machines have is in relation to the quality of fuel, heavy metals and such, that are part of the composite. And these can affect the life of your generating sets. And with natural gas, liquid nitrified gas, I believe that this is an aspect that would be removed from the equation. I'm sure that when Mr. Schubert makes his comments and his remarks, all the facts and the frequently asked questions will come out there. And I leave that for him in private conversations with those who will be engaging him. I looked at my friends from Guy and I was wondering if they're going to be a partner or if they're going to be a competitor. Whatever happens, I'm hoping that there are sufficient synergies to make a project of this kind something that we can embrace. More than anything else, however, this launch provides Guyana with an option. It brings to our shores also a regionally based service, supplying a regionally based market using regionally based resources, because I understand your markets are supplied from Trinidad and Colombia. Yes. To me, that borders on self-sufficiency and self-reliance. For those who expected me to say anything about Guyana's oil and gas expectations, I'm sorry to disappoint. But at least I could say that hopefully sometime in the future, not too far future, if this concept takes off, that you would have another option for your gas supply. I wish this venture every success. And I'm hoping I'm not the first, but if I am, I'll be the first to say to you, season's greetings. Thank you.
He's going to have to do this laureate every time. Well, thank you very much, Noel. You know you're off to good innings when you have an opening batsman like that. And I'd like to thank him for filling the breach so admirably. I'd like to recognize the presence of Minister Jaipal Sharma in the audience. And there are several others that in the course. When I put my spectacles on and I recognize you, I'll pick you up and identify you. But we'll move on right now to a gentleman who I don't think has had much sleep, not just last night, but over the last couple of weeks. When I started to read how these pieces of equipment were going to come here, you had to go back to the history books of 1492 when Columbus tried to make this journey in the Nina and the Pinta, and he had small boats then. These are big guys out there, 40-footers and things like that. But it started out of Halifax, I think. Part of it. What Eric says is that he had to pick up pieces from all parts of the world. Well, can you imagine that? I mean, because if one piece doesn't come, the puzzle doesn't fit. But he'll tell you a little bit more about that. But it started somewhere along far way off and then assembled in Trinidad. And there they put it onto a big barge that is moored in the Demerara River. And we are fortunate to have the national park here where there's a Damien Finance. And we were fortunate to have the crew from John Finance Limited, who were well equipped to deal with offloading, mooring, getting it, and then bringing it all the way here. But if he doesn't fall asleep in the midst of his presentation, please welcome a gentleman whose optimism and perseverance you will soon learn about. Please welcome Mr. Eric Schubert, the CEO of Icon LNG.
Thank you very much, Vic. I appreciate the kind introduction. Honorable Minister of Business, Mr. Dominic Askin. Honorable Minister Annette Ferguson. Mr. Neil Dennison, Deputy Commissioner, the Guyana Geology and Mines Commission. Members of the Diplomatic Corps, members of the business community, members of the media, and ladies and gentlemen, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us this morning. As Vic said, I'll start by just going into a little background, as he hinted on, of exactly where all these pieces of equipment came from. The large tank of liquefied natural gas that you see off to the left actually came in from Rotterdam, Europe. That was loaded about 4 weeks ago and has had a pretty substantial trip making it here, concluding with bringing it in on our own barge that is, as Vic said, right on the Demerara River. The engine container that you see over here, the containers themselves came in from Halifax, Nova Scotia. The engine came in from Louisiana. The vaporizer, the piece of aluminum you see to the left, which I'll describe later, that came in from California. The rest of the equipment that you see here came in from all across Canada and the United States. And it was quite the job to consolidate it all and bring it from different countries, assemble it, and then bring it once again to Guyana here. But we're very thankful we did, and we're very thankful that everybody has showed up this morning. What I'd like to talk about is exactly what ICON is working on down here in Guyana. It all started about 2 years ago. 2 years ago, to be exact. I met with Mr. Sattar, and we've been traveling around to meet with various businesses and government agencies over the last 2 years. All of that hard work has directly led to where we are now, which I will say is the very first liquefied natural gas shipment anywhere in the region, Eastern Caribbean or Northern South America. This is the very first shipment that has arrived ever. So I'm very proud to say thank you very much for all your hard work, and I'm very proud to be part of this first shipment here. What we're looking to do is, if you look at the power generation in Guyana and the Eastern Caribbean, the majority of it is based on diesel fuel or heavy fuel oil, or called HFO. The generators that use those are various sizes, from a couple of kilowatts or a couple hundred kilowatts up to maybe 5.5 or even 10, 12 megawatts. Some small size engines to large size engines, and those once again run on the diesel or the HFO. Natural gas has always been thought of, especially in this region, as an alternative, but it's never been able to happen based on a couple of things, but the biggest is the infrastructure. In order to bring natural gas in, you need to liquefy it, which brings it in or condenses it down to 600 times the condensed level of plain old natural gas. That allows you to economically ship it from point A to point B. The problem with that is the equipment that is required to liquefy it and the infrastructure needed to unload it when it gets to where it's going is very expensive and has multi-year lead time. When you look at bringing in liquefied natural gas in bulk form, and you look at the infrastructure cost just to unload it at the port, you won't go any further. The cost is cost prohibitive based on the size of the markets in the Eastern Caribbean or Guyana, or Suriname for that matter. It's cost prohibitive to put that infrastructure in place. Not on taking into consideration that once, if you did bring it in bulk, how would you get it from the port to the end customer? You'd have to build a pipeline or set up a trucking system to actually take it further, which adds to the cost uncompetitiveness of bulk LNG. The only way to do it is to do it in small size containers, as you see over here. Now, the problem with that is the logistics operation. It's very, very complicated to bring the LNG in and to bring it from the port to the site. We could do that, no problem. We've got that worked out. But then it comes down to what do you do when you get it at the customer's facility? The engines that they have are set for diesel or HFO. So do you spend the money to repurchase new engines, new storage tanks at site, and a vaporization system? No. The cost of that makes that portion of the LNG impractical. So it's a no-go from two different standpoints based on how people have looked at it in the past. Bulk, too expensive, can't work. Normal logistics and buying new 100% diesel generator or 100% natural gas generators, storage and regas systems on site for a customer, that's a no-go based on that cost as well. What Icon has worked on and come up with is a dual fuel conversion of existing engines. The existing engines that run on diesel or HFO can very easily be converted with an externally mounted conversion kit that displaces 60 to 80% of the diesel or HFO and replaces that with natural gas that's blended in with the diesel. The benefits are it's very cost efficient, it's very easy to install the conversion kit. With a correctly sized small portable regas system and the portable LNG tank, we can make this work at any facility in Guyana or the Eastern Caribbean in a matter of a month or two. So from a timeline standpoint, we can convert existing plants, existing equipment very fast. And it's taken 2 years, obviously, to work out all the details of logistics, but we have it done. And as you can see, we have finally arrived. The positives, obviously, as Vic mentioned earlier, with natural gas is the environmental aspects is definitely a big positive. But more important as important, I should say, than the environmental aspects are the economic aspects. With the fluctuating price of oil, I should say, it's at very low rates right now. But even at the low rates right now, we can provide a discount even at the low oil rates. And Icon is able to lock our prices into the customer for 5 years. You talk to any manufacturing company, any power producer, if they know their fuel input price over 5 years, that is an incredible benefit to them. No longer will they have to worry about what's oil going to be in a year, what's our fuel price going to be in 2 or 3 years, will it go back up to 100? It doesn't matter. We're able to provide a fixed price for that 5 years, and it is cost competitive even at today's current low prices. When you expand beyond just the power generating, as Minister hinted upon with the mining sector, we have conversion kits where we could actually convert all existing mining equipment from large generators that power the facility or mining trucks. We could easily convert those to run 100% on LNG. Those facilities now can receive our containers that will ship directly to their site, fuel up their vehicles 100% on LNG when it comes to mining equipment. Think about the cost savings and the environmental impact when you look at a mine that runs 24 hours a day and all the heavy equipment that they use every day of the year. Think about converting that to a much more environmentally friendly natural gas and the cost savings for that mine. It's a game changer for everybody in the area. On top of that, we have small conversion kits that we can put on passenger vehicles, and especially the minibus or the mini taxis here in town. That's a very simple system that does not replace the diesel or the natural gas that the car uses. It's a alternative. So in the morning you fill up, you use that natural gas until it gets low, then you either fill up again, or if you're on a long run, you just flip a switch and you go right back to your diesel or your natural gas or diesel or your regular gasoline. So it can provide a major cost savings and a major environmental impact to passenger vehicles as well as mine operations and to the power generating facility. In regards to our facilities, Icon facilities, we have a gas concession out of Colombia, and we're finalizing our gas concession out of Trinidad. We also have a third opportunity to get, or a third location to get our liquefied natural gas from, and that is where this container came from, which is in Rotterdam, Europe. By this summer, we're going to have our first facility producing LNG, and we'll be able to deliver regionally right from Trinidad or Colombia directly to Guyana and the Eastern Caribbean by this summer. So we're very excited about the possibilities and the growth potential and the cost savings and environmental impact that we can make not only here in Guyana, but elsewhere throughout the Eastern Caribbean. And once again, I would definitely like to say thank you very much for your time today and for being part of the first LNG shipment into this region. It is a historic moment and a very happy moment for myself and my team. A lot of hard work did go into this, and we're really looking forward to moving forward here in Guyana on multiple fronts. So thank you very much.
All I can say is, wow, the big things happening. It takes time, you know. People expect things will happen right away, right, Minister? They expect it like tomorrow. It takes a little bit of time, and to those who wait come the bigger things. You know, if I were to choose a Santa Claus from this group, it would be Noel. He fits it in every way. Did we order that? Not too sure. But and when Eric was listing the places where he gets the gas from and the possibility of going to things, the Santa Claus hinted there might be a fourth possibility in some Christmas bag. So you think on that. Anyway, we move on to our next speaker. Usually, and I've been around enough with several ministers, I've never had a better looking Minister of Public Infrastructure in the history of Guyana than we have here today. As a matter of fact, I don't ever think we've had a woman as a minister in that particular department. They usually put hard-boiled eggs, people who can, who can deal with all the issues that come up every day. But she's doing fine. So please welcome Minister Annette Ferguson.
Thank you very much, Sessional Chairperson. Honorable Dominic Gaskin, Minister of Business, Mr. Noel Dennison, Deputy Commissioner of the Guyana Geology and Mines Commission, Mr. Eric Schubert, CEO of Icon LNG, energy and business stakeholders, invited guests, ladies and gentlemen of the media. It is with distinct pleasure that I give these few remarks at this first of its kind road show in Guyana. As you are aware, energy infrastructure is the backbone of a country's development. It complements the enabling governance systems and personnel that make the country productive. It underpins the ability of the manufacturing sector to convert raw material into finished products. It helps communities to create the environment for closer interactions. And in short, it touches and concerns all aspects of our lives. Guyana's development is at a crossroad, critical to the delivery of the good life and the necessary move towards a green economy, which is, the talk of the town today, is the need for a balanced energy infrastructure. The Ministry of Public Infrastructure, as the lead agency in the delivery, is mindful of the delicate balance that is necessary for sustained growth. It is imperative that we lower our energy bill, while at the same time ensure that our carbon footprint is also lowered. The green economy is central to government's commitment to the people of Guyana and will be in line with the sustainable development goals currently being discussed and implemented around the world. This initiative and its applications could form part of an integrated strategy that the government must undertake to ensure that all our citizens benefit from improved services. Our miners, who contribute significantly to the GDP, can have access to cheaper fuel alternatives. Our agriculture sector can potentially move from primary to secondary production. Manufacturing also can increase its contribution to the GDP by innovating, creating synergies in the agro-processing value chain. Other service providers can also plan better because of more reliable forms of energy that can complement their offerings, especially through better logistics planning, marketing, and management services. Redundant uplink capabilities for data, all made possible because of reliable power and energy supplies. The keys here are synergies, new applications, better service delivery, innovation and growth, and ultimately the development of Guyana. So, on this important starting point, we must all ensure that we pay attention to the various things that we can do with the delivery of liquid natural gas. On behalf of the government, I applaud this initiative and await to be informed about these new service possibilities. Together, we can achieve much to make Guyana a better place. Mr. Eric and team, I thank you for this great initiative. And as I said earlier, I await the possibilities to see how things progress. I want to thank you for your attention, and may God richly bless us all.
You see what I mean? Powerful voice and powerful words. So when minister says pay attention, you all better pay attention and get this right. So thank you very much, Minister Ferguson, for putting things in the context and leading us on. Next speaker is our final speaker. He didn't like the word address that I put down here because he's going to share some thoughts. I think, some people say TGIF, they thank God it's Friday. I don't think Dominic is going to look forward to Fridays. He's been speaking almost every Friday. Last week, I think it was the Business Expo and things like that. But now today, it's a morning dew, and it's a lot pleasant. But I need to tell you that he was extremely helpful and instrumental in making a lot of things happen. It's not easy to bring all this equipment into a country like ours. I know he talks about removing the red tape and getting things moving. He had to do a lot of that for us because a lot of this equipment is coming in here and going back out. Now, that's horrors for all the revenue people. But this is the way it's working. It's gone by tomorrow on its way to Grenada and other countries in the Caribbean. So I'd personally like to thank him for that kind of intervention that made it possible and to ask you to welcome him for his thoughts on this morning's proceedings. Minister Gaskin.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and I'd like to promise you that very soon the only red tape we'll see will be Christmas decorations. Honorable Minister within the Ministry of Public Infrastructure, Ms. Annette Ferguson, and Honorable Minister within the Ministry of Finance, Mr. Jaipal Sharma, Deputy Commissioner of the Guyana Geology and Mines Commission, Mr. Newell Dennison, CEO of Icon LNG, Mr. Eric Schubert, members of the Diplomatic Corps, other government officials, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning to you all. I have been requested by His Excellency President David A. Granger, who regrettably could not be here this morning, to attend this event on his behalf. Firstly, I'd like to congratulate Icon LNG for bringing this roadshow to Guyana, and to thank them for inviting me to attend this demonstration of their new dual fuel technology. This event brings to our attention yet another option in the quest for cleaner and more affordable energy, and provides an opportunity for Guyanese to see and understand the technology through which natural gas is liquefied, then regasified and blended to meet our energy needs. For decades, Guyana's economic progress has been stymied by an unreliable and expensive supply of energy, incapable of meeting our demand. The need for better option comes up anytime we have a discussion about our economy. Guyana lags behind many countries in the world, Bank Ease of Doing Business report for 2014, and one of the areas in which we rank the lowest is that of access to energy, or access to electricity, more specifically. Most individuals and businesses in our country depend primarily on GPL, or Guyana Power and Light, to meet their energy needs. And unfortunately, GPL, despite major investments in upgrades over the last decade, still does not adequately satisfy the local demand. There are far too many power outages and far too many unserved areas in Guyana. Our businesses feel the pain every month when a large portion of their revenues go to paying for energy. This is money that could have been reinvested in their businesses. I recently visited LFM, and that was one of the main concerns raised by businesses there. They pay much more than we do here in Georgetown. And this, of course, makes them uncompetitive and hampers growth and development. For our economy to develop in a long-term, sustainable manner, we will need to export a lot more value-added goods. And I'm certain that many more businesses would get involved in manufacturing industries, but are deterred by the high cost of energy, since this obviously has to be factored into the cost of their product and makes them uncompetitive. Trinidad's manufacturers enjoy cheap energy, and that makes their products competitively priced. So there certainly is a need for better options when it comes to energy in Guyana. And of course, affordable energy makes Guyana more attractive to foreign investors, which is certainly something that we need to increase here in Guyana. Our government is committed to the full development of the energy sector in Guyana, one that is based on multiple sources of energy, and one that will eventually transition to cleaner and greener energy. And this is important if we are going to all enjoy the good life in a green economy. Our government has already given the green light to a wind farm project, and we are currently exploring several hydro projects. All of this with a view to ensuring that we have reliable energy at an affordable cost. Liquefied natural gas is obviously an alternative to consider within the context of Guyana's total energy needs, and I welcome this roadshow to Guyana and wish Icon LNG a successful exhibition. I thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Minister Gaskin. You know, as an old MC of several functions of this kind, it's not usually you say to the head table, give me more. But I do believe that we had 4 excellent A+ presentations from the head table. So there's nothing wrong with you putting your hands together and thanking them for a wonderful half-an-hour session. It only took half an hour, and the time flew very quickly. So just some thank you. I say the word of thanks, but those of you who missed out getting little bags of tokens and registering your name for future things, please do so with Latoya over to the east, to the right there, because she has the bags and stuff like that. And for the members of the media, there is a synopsis of Eric's presentation this morning that you may find useful. So I'd like to just close off by saying a word of thanks on behalf of Icon LNG to the government of Guyana generally, particularly to the Ministry of Business and National Resources as well, to the GEA, to the GRA, to Go Invest, to the Customs, the police, the fire department, the management of the national park, Mr. Damien Finance and his people, and the people down at John Finance and all the others, and of course especially to you on a Friday to take the time off. The way it works now is that we move down to have a walkthrough of the equipment here. I think what happens is later in the day, the engineering people will come for the live presentations, the nuts and bolts that you may not want to get too involved in. And then that little tent there is our refreshment tent. So please feel free at any time just to drop in there and have something to munch and things. So again, thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your weekend. And as Niall says, if we don't see each other again, all the best for this season.